Thank you very much. Dr. Ranganathan stays on with us as we shift focus to something that's happening in the neighborhood. Where is President Xi Jinping? Ghaib. He's not there. He's disappeared from the front pages of the Chinese national dailies. He's disappeared from media attention and also multilateral platforms. Where is he? Chinese President Xi Jinping's unusual disappearance from public view between the 21st of May to the 5th of June this year has sparked intense speculation about internal political adjustments at the highest levels of the Chinese Communist Party. However, top intelligence sources have told CNN News 18 that Xi Jinping's absence is not unusual and China has a history of sidelining prominent leaders. The Chinese Communist Party has previously done this with three notable leaders, reducing their operational authority to mere ceremonial roles, sources say to CNN News 18. Currently, real power lies with General Zhang Youxia, now the first vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, who is backed by CCP seniors from the Hu Jintao faction and according to top intelligence sources. Manoj Kumar Gupta, our group editor, Security and Intelligence Affairs, is now getting us these details. As Xi Jinping's ideological control weakens, intelligence sources highlight that Wang Yang is being groomed as a reform-oriented future leader and technocrat. CCP leadership transitions are typically managed by sidelining rather than outright dismissals. Although Xi retains his formal titles, top intel sources note that his operational dominance is waning across military, economic and ideological domains. Now, this sidelining is evident with the removal or sidelining of army generals linked to him. Intel sources also observe the absence of mentions of Xi Jinping thought and re-emergence of senior party members. State-controlled media silence on Xi indicates an internal power shift. Meanwhile, China's economy is struggling with 15% youth unemployment and stagnant real estate growth. Failures in semiconductor funding programs further compound the economic woes. Let's go across to our guest, Andrew K.P. Leung, China strategist, Jennifer Zheng, member of the International Press Association and journalist. Inconvenient Truths is with us, and Dr. Ranganathan stays on. My namaste to everybody. Thank you very, very much. Jennifer Zheng, how would you read these developments over the last 2 months?
Actually, today there is some very important news coming out. At the latest, the Politburo meeting of the CCP, they announced the establishment of new so-called decision-making and coordination body. And it stresses that in the future, the important decision-making should be done through this decision-making and coordination body. So this reminds people of the days when China has a so-called central advisory body, where the CCP elders were actually giving advices, or you can say overseeing the operation and the decision-making process. So, of course, as you mentioned earlier, recently there are a lot of different signs that showing Xi Jinping's power is, you can say, much more reduced than before.
Andrew K.P. Leung?
Yes, there are a number of questionable developments in recent months, including, for example, the dismissal or the demotion of a number of top generals and top leaders in the military commission, and some heading very sensitive military units, all connected with the ongoing campaign against corruption. But let's not forget that some of these foreign stars, they have been known to be close allies of President Xi. So their demotion or dismissal must have an impact on President Xi's stature. And of course, that you can see that throughout the ruling of the Chinese Communist Party, there is after a number of years, a transition from between the two camps. There is the Hu Jintao, Wang Yang, and Wen Jiabao. There's this camp, which is the youth, the League camp, and then of course there is the Princelings camp. And then you can look at the past periods. there seems to be a transition from one camp to the other. Usually the transition, of course, has been peaceful because China learned a big lesson from the days of the turmoil of the political purges and so on and so forth. So I think that this is a consensus that they need to keep the continuity of the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party. But then the signs in recent months with the dismissal, the fall of a number of high-profile leaders connected with Xi does throw up question marks. Also, there seems to be a report that President Xi may have suffered from some sort of an ailment. This not yet confirmed. I can't confirm it myself, but I look at some of the report. So, and in fact, when President Xi took over, Wang Yang is supposed to be someone standing in line. Is the kind of supposed to be the next leader. That before the presidency, of course, broke the tradition of breaking the term limits. But then the breaking of the term limits is not according to what the West has been portraying. The presidency wants to grab power. It's because that the campaign against the corruption has been much more difficult and much more prolonged than expected, and continuing in recent months, leading to the dismissal of very top and sensitive leaders in charge of missiles, in charge of space forces. So I think that it seems to be some sort of a planning for rejigging the power structure. Now, the previous speaker highlighted the fact that there is a change in the kind of decision making. Again, I've been on TV shows for so many times, and listened to the various interlocutors, and there seems to be a very grave misunderstanding in the West as to how decisions are made in China. It's not as if President Xi makes all the decisions. Of course, he makes the final decision, but there is a huge feed-in channels, expert groups, and sometimes even public hearings. These are usually not captured by the Western media. But the recent suggestion that this decision-making process needs to be further refined. So that's what I can say, because at the moment
to try and say that there is democracy in an autocracy is quite paradoxical, Andrew K.P. Leung. But Jennifer Zheng, is that true? And
that's a very good point you raised. I'd like to respond to that.
I'll come back to you, Andrew. Just let me go across to Dr. Ranganathan and also Jennifer Zheng. Quick comment. Okay. Are you willing to believe that this is already planned and this is going across, or is there something there that is brewing, Jennifer, before I bring in Dr. Ranganathan? Because every time something like this happens, there is some external involvement. You know, their attention is deflected because the Chinese generals will get into conflict with the neighboring nation. So that's also.
Sorry, I actually have problem hearing you properly. There are background noises in there, so I can hardly hear. Sorry, what?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better. Yes.
All right.
What's your question?
Okay. No, my question is, Andrew K.P. Leung says that people in the West don't understand how Chinese the CCP operates. And he said that there perhaps is a democracy within that entire autocracy. What I want to ask you is that should the neighbors be wary? Could there be some external activity, some escalation of conflict to deflect attention from this entire internal turbulence?
No, I don't think there is any kind of democracy, whether it's within the CCP or outside of the CCP in China. It's all dark boxes but power struggles. So outsiders can only try to observe what's happening on the surface. Of course, sometimes different factions of the CCP will purposely leak some kind of information to create, you can say, to create an environment so that is in favor of them. Like for Xi Jinping's sideline, we can see there were all sorts of rumors spreading online like mad for months. If Xi was whether we don't know which rumor is correct, which is not. But when Xi Jinping was at the top of his power, those kind of rumor would not be allowed to circulate online like this madly before. So the fact that there are so many rumors about him losing power itself existed is a very clear sign that he is losing control of the internet, at least. And another sign is there are so many PLA generals, and some of generals were only promoted by him personally 2 years ago, got removed or got some even say got murdered, like the number 3 PLA person, a vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, He Weidong. Rumors said he already had died since his last appearance in March, soon as March this year. So you look at this, I think it's all power struggle within the CCP, but you really don't know who is doing what. But from the surface, you can say Xi Jinping's, especially the generals promoted by him within the PLA system was removed one by one, because the military power is the most important power in the CCP system. From that, you can see there are very fierce power struggle behind the scenes, and Xi Jinping obviously is losing that battle.
Point well made there. Dr. Ranganathan, quick update that China is also known for externalizing its internal problems and instability, especially against Bharat. Top intelligence sources assert multiple reshuffles in the PLA Western Theatre Command since late 2024 indicate that the field commanders may escalate tensions along the line of actual control, potentially taking action in Arunachal Pradesh and Ladakh to demonstrate loyalty or distract from domestic issues. The CCP has a history of using external confrontation to manage internal instability, as evidenced by increased South China Sea activities during the 2012 Bojilai political crisis and aggressive moves in Ladakh during the 2020 pandemic. Intelligence sources are further reminding that whenever there is internal turmoil, there is problem along the LAC. Now, similar strategies were employed during the 2014 anti-corruption crackdown that unsettled the army and also local power. Dr. Ranganathan.
Yeah, no, I don't think Mr. Xi Jinping is missing. I think he was last seen at a newspaper building in Chennai, or was that a hologram? I don't know. But a couple of things out here. Number one, let's be very honest about it. China, contrary to what one of the panelists is suggesting, is not a democracy at all in any shape or form. It is a ruthless dictatorship. Be that as it may, it is a fact that unlike a lot of our neighbors, India's neighbors, it is a very stable dictatorship. And there are two reasons for that. One is the ruthlessness of the head of China, in this case Xi, who has removed the term limits, so he can indefinitely be the president. And the second is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure if any military officer has ever headed or at the top post in China, unlike in Pakistan. So I think they keep these two things very sacrosanct, if I may even use that word for a dictatorship. Having said that, the other fact also remains that instability or not, China has escaped the quote-unquote punishment of the world post-COVID. China has not suffered at all. Almost all the supply chains, almost all the trade that it was conducting with the rest of the world has been reinstated, if not to the same level as pre-COVID, but in fact more so, especially with India. So for us to say that China has become unstable economically or in terms of power wrestling that's going on there, my layman's opinion is I don't think that is true, especially because Xi has wielded power like no other head of Chinese state for the last at least 15, 20, 30 years, going back even to Deng Xiaoping. The third fact is, because it is a dictatorship, and because howsoever stable a dictatorship might be, it still remains a dictatorship, the power tussle will remain. because the power is in the hands of chosen few. For example, the removal of the term limits, believe it or not, was through a vote that was 2,358 for and 2 against. This is the power of these people. So I think there is stability in there, and it is as inscrutable as it ever was.
Right, but we just need to watch out, especially Arunachal, Ladakh and that region, because there is trouble being fomented right bang across Arunachal Pradesh, with Bangladesh being used, and there are entities from the other side. So is there a sandwich or a push and pull kind of a situation where our forces will be stretched on both ends, even in that northeastern region? We'll have to wait and watch for that, see how it pans out. I have to wind up way over time. Thank you very much. Thank you. Namaste.